Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to Fantasy Premier League Game Week, Fantasy Premier League even. There's plenty of leaks of team news around Fantasy Premier League Game Week 17. We'll do this via the goals and assists imminent tables, which use the Fantasy Football Scout members area stats to try and predict future returns. I welcome to those joining us early in the live chat. Just before I introduce myself and Tom, who I've just introduced anyway, please do let us know in the live chat that we are recording. It's just I don't have any playback on my YouTube feed, so I'm either just talking into thin air or I'm talking to lots and lots of lovely people. So do let me know in the live chat that you can hear and see us all fine. My name is Joe, and joining me as ever to unearth those under the radar gems is Tom Freeman, Fantasy Football Scout's deputy editor. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Joe. Yeah, couple of good results for my team, Villa, in the past week, or very good results, I should say, which always helps my mood. So, yeah, all good. It was a bit of a whirlwind last week with three deadlines coming very quickly, very close together. But it feels like now we've got a little bit more time to think about our teams and go through these tables, which we didn't do ahead of Game Week 16.
Great stuff. Yeah, what we'll do is, as I said, we'll look at those goals and assist imminent tables. We'll look at see how we got on last week. We'll look at the latest tables as well. We are also having a big focus on something I like to do, looking at unfashionable players. And this week, we've got a particular focus on those unfashionable, forgotten players that... I don't know if anyone's noticed, they've been racking up loads of points, but no one owns them. So we're going to be having a look at them, and we're going to be looking at specific teams. Brighton, no one wants them because of the rotation, but their players are racking up the points. Bournemouth, Fulham, Everton, and our old favourite, Wolves as well. Everyone thinks they're rubbish, but are they? Are they anymore? And are their players rubbish? So we'll have a look at those in much more detail. Welcome to those joining us in the live chat. Thanks a lot for letting us know that it's all working fine. So can Jamie, JS, Eunice, Eston, Super Tiger, Ahmed, Dwanabu, One Mad Chef, and many, many more. Thanks so much for joining us early on. But just before we go on, just to remind everyone, that the Fantasy Football Scout, we have a members for the members area special. It's a 7-day free trial. Also, there's you can get to save 20% as well. So do have a look at that. All the tables we're showing today, they're all from the members area. I constructed them all myself from the members area. Very easy to do. Anyone can do them. And there's lots of other tools there. From the Dwanabo says, hearing and seeing us fine from the Caribbean. Do let us know where you're tuning in from as well. And Brian just simply says, a dingra with an exclamation mark. That's exactly how I said it when he scored for my team this week. Okay, let's have a look and see how we got on with those tables. Okay, right. Okay, we're going to dwell on him. When I highlight these names, a lot of people say, are you highlighting them because they're named players you should definitely bring in? And I said, no, I'm just highlighting them because they're sorts of the players that I think me and Tom might dwell on. Darwin Núñez, he blanked. We went for Game Week 15 and 16 for this one. It was 2 weeks worth. He had 2 shots and he didn't, well, not 2 shots, he had about 1 million shots, but 2 attempts at getting us points 2 game weeks. Is he a keep or sell at this stage?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? He didn't do much at the weekend at Palace. A few frustrating offside calls. I think you can keep him for Man United this week because I think the fact it's at Anfield, providing he's benched on Thursday, that is. I think if he starts in Europe, you might start to get a little bit more concerned. But I think if he doesn't, I think he's fine to keep this week. But then after that, probably a move that you've been eyeing up, Joe. Certainly you've spoken about it on previous videos, but that switch to Watkins in 18, I think, is a pretty obvious move if you still own him then.
Yeah, I mean, I've been deliberately keeping money back. And as we'll probably discuss when we come to the live Q&A bit, with potentially Haaland out, we might all have a lot of money if those who want to remove him. But we will discuss what we're doing a bit later. We've also got a team reveal video. We'll discuss that in much more detail. I've got him. I actually want him for Manchester United. I think he'll play. He scored a brace last time they played them at. I think that was at Liverpool last March.
It was the big win,
the big 7-0.
7-0. Yeah.
So I'm happy to captain Salah for that one, and And I'm happy to keep Darwin Núñez for that one. Then he can do one for someone better who can actually hit the target. But, could get me some returns then. Yeah, I think he's a keep for that, but then an easy swap game week 18.
If someone else was in a position where it was Darwin or Solanke this week, would you make that move, Joe? Not just relating to your team, but if somebody was just asking you the question,
what to get in or remove?
Take out Darwin this week and bring in Solanke, because that's another popular move. You wouldn't do it this week.
No, I wouldn't do that at all. No, I genuinely think Manchester United, and it's not just that I think Manchester United are particularly bad at the moment, which of course they are. But it's more the fact that I just think in those Liverpool-Manchester United games, just like, the derbies that you have in your local area, every team has got their local derbies, whether that be, I don't know, Burnley and Blackburn, isn't it? And things like that. Everyone has got their, and form, fixtures, everything goes out the window. Yeah. And it's just simply that day, and it's a cup final day. You never know. Manchester United could hammer Liverpool 5-0. You never know.
Yeah, I think Salah has scored more goals against Man United than any other Premier League team. I think he scored 12 goals overall.
It's more likely that Liverpool will hammer Manchester United 5-0 then.
Yes. Yeah, but no, I can see why you and others will keep him this week. You've just got to hope that his maybe minutes are managed a little bit on Thursday, and that will put you more at ease. But I think he's still first choice there, even though Liverpool haven't looked great, certainly at Palace on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. He's a keep for me at the moment, but then he's a sell. And I think, do I regret the move from to get Darwin Núñez in for Watkins? I'm laughing because, of course, I blooming regret it. But that's hindsight.
Yeah, but no, it is. I think, isn't it? You were presented with a flagged Watkins who was then going to play Man City and Arsenal. Liverpool had a good 3-game run. Yeah. Darwin has, his minutes have been there. It just hasn't worked out, but a lot of people made that move, and I don't think you can look back on it and think, why did I do that? But the reasons were there for doing it in the first place.
I know exactly why I did it, and but with hindsight, so I do regret it. Brandon Bowman's next, injured now, so obviously can't get his turns. He got injured within that period, but he did. Oh, actually, game week 15. I can't remember when was the Brighton game. It was game week 15, wasn't it?
Yeah, he scored, didn't he?
So he did score. So sorry about that. Yeah, he did there.
Hey, we have got a goal.
We have got a goal. I think I was mainly looking at game week 16 here. So apologies if we do find some goals and assists in this table. Gibbs White, he has failed us, and Trossard as well in terms of returns. But Iwobi, who we will discuss a bit later, Fulham, an assist there. Bailey at Villa, an assist. So let's sit with Bailey then. So I always ask you about these Villa players. Are they going to stay in the team or not? I mean, surely. I mean, he'd looked great the last few games. So surely he's now a regular starter.
Well, I've always said consistency is the problem with Bailey. You tend to have one very good game where he looks like a world beater, and then the next game he's completely anonymous. Now, in the past few games, he's actually started to put in some consistent performances. Yeah. But the problem with Bailey is that he is injury prone, and I don't think he can play 3 times in a week. So that's exactly what happened at the weekend. Is you saw him for 45 minutes against Arsenal, and then he was taken off. Now, he was limping a little bit before he came off, and there has been talk that maybe he did get a little knock. I think he has to come off, but I don't know if that was just like fatigue. We need an update from Emery, basically. I still think he's a risky buy, because I think coming into this festive period, I don't think he's going to play every match. I think he'll share minutes with Diaby quite a bit, but it's making it very hard to drop him, because on his day, he looks electric, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. A number of people got him in justifiably, and Villa's fixtures do turn a bit. Though they've had the tricky fixtures. They've had their 1-0 victory fixtures, so they might get their 5-0 victory fixtures coming up.
Yeah, I just think that 84 minutes against Man City, it probably really took it out of him, and could only then manage 45 against Arsenal. If he's benched on Thursday in the Europa, then it looks good for a start of the weekend, if providing he's fit.
Okay, Kalesha Burnley. I don't think people are going to go there.
He's injured.
Yeah, and Burnley, a team to keep an eye on. They just kept Brighton down to the 29 shots the weekend, but they did keep them down to the 1 goal. So I mean, that's Trafford was doing his best Nick Pope impression. Of racking up the returns there, despite
he made 10 saves, I think, didn't he? So,
he made 10, I think.
10. I'm sure
So
it was the most
three,
any keeper's made this year.
that's 3 extra bonus points, 3 extra save points there.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Semenya, Bournemouth. I still think he's a good option. 4 points. Bournemouth we'll speak about in a bit. Doku at City had barely played. I don't think he played any minutes in these two fixtures. Elise as well only played a little bit. And came on. But Crystal Palace, they are bottom of the fixture ticker Fantasy Football Scout for the next 6 fixtures, especially with City next, and Brighton, Chelsea, Brentford, Arsenal, and Sheffield United, who are now good. So when I say good, I mean less bad.
You can probably say the same for Burnley, can't you? They're improving. They're still not quite there yet, but they're moving in the right direction again.
Definitely Luton as well. All the promoted sides are getting better as they find their feet, I guess, in the Premier League. This is how we got on with the assists Imminent as well. I probably missed out a few more Game Week 15 ones, but we certainly got some returns here. Some unusual ones as well. Alexander Arnold actually did return in Game Week 15. It was Game Week 16 he blanked. Alexander Arnold has been very prolific. But he's too expensive, isn't he, at the moment? But I guess those who might remove Haaland, who definitely misses Game Week 18, could be injured again for Game Week 17. If you were to remove Haaland and you were minded to spread the cash and then possibly not know what to do when he comes back after Game Week 18, would you be minded to get Alexander Arnold in now?
Consider it, because he's consistently picking up bonus, isn't he? I think he picked up bonus at the weekend without a return at all. He's got 8 in the last 3 games. He moved into midfield again at Palace. The only issue I have with it is Liverpool have got United, Arsenal and Newcastle in the next 4. So it comes down, are they going to keep enough clean sheets to justify Trent's price? It's a little bit, we've always said that the price has been as restricted as before. That might not be the issue if you sell Haaland. You've got to think you're going to want Haaland back when he's fit, probably after the blank. So if you're shifting money back into defence, you're going to have to find a way to get it out again. So I'm still not totally there with Alexander Arnold as a pick. But I mean, there's Hall potential with him playing the way he is at the moment, of course. But it's just whether there's going to be the clean sheets there for Liverpool.
Okay. Luca Dean. I mean, Moreno's back, but Luca Dean's still nailed. Still a player that we could invest in.
Well, not now because he's suspended in Game Week 17 because he got his fifth yellow card. But I mean, Alex Moreno now has an opportunity to come in and stake a claim at the weekend. He was first choice under Emery at the back end of last year. He's a great player. So I see them sharing minutes a little bit. I think Dean is first choice. He hasn't done anything to be dropped. But I do think as Moreno gets fitter, he might start the odd game here and there.
Okay. Goodmanson at Burnley, he's been in and out of the side, but Burnley are improving, worth noting. Tavernier at Bournemouth, he's going to raise eyebrows because he's got a couple of assists in Game Week 16, which I've put there. And also, so he didn't get anything in Game Week 15 either. But a couple of assists in Game Week 16, and he's been doing really well. Bournemouth have been doing well, but we'll look in Bournemouth in a bit of detail. But Tavernier, I mean, anyone who goes on social media or a content creator or whoever who says, "Oh, I'm going to get Tavernier this week," over the last month, people would have laughed at them. But those that did get him in would have got the points in. But it's just an example of what this show's all about, really, is those under the radar picks.
Yeah, we've had Bournemouth players on the table. Solanke, when Bournemouth were really struggling earlier in the season, Solanke was popping up on these tables, and he wasn't a popular pick at all. But it just showed that, he was getting the shots, and Bournemouth have turned a corner now. They've been brilliant in their last 5 matches, going toe to toe with some really good teams. There's a bit more competition in the wide positions for Tavernier, but I think he is first choice. But they will rotate a little bit because they've got players like Kluivert. Semenyo as well, who's been playing out wide. Sinistera came in and got the goal as well. So there's a few options there. But Tavernier's a good player. He's quite creative.
Yep.
Got the couple of assists there. Scored a brace against Sheffield United a few weeks ago. So I don't dislike the move because Bournemouth have got some good fixtures coming up, haven't they?
Definitely, yeah. Bournemouth's fixtures remind everyone they've got Luton at home next. They've got Nottingham Forest, Fulham, Tottenham, Liverpool, and West Ham. So it gets a bit iffy around 2021. But it's still pretty good. Pretty good run. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth best according to Fantasy Football Scouts season ticker for over the next 6 matches. Jan out of Brentford, we're going to sort of sketch over. I don't think people go there with. I mean, I'm not sure about Brentford at the moment with Mbomo out as well. But worth noting that Ivan Toney is going to be back game week 21, I think it is.
It's around that time.
So he certainly can come back in January, I think.
That's going to be really interesting, isn't it? Because
it's why I'm sort of minded, and we'll talk about this in our team reveal video this week. I'm minded to sort of move my team more towards a 3-4-3 because with Tony back, so say Brentford sell Tony to another Premier League side, well, I'm still going to want him. So there's Haaland, Tony, and there's Solanke, Watkins. Darwin Núñez could ever hit anything. There's a whole bunch of other players, even Jimenez at Fulham. So I think I'm going to want 3 strikers going forward. But and the fixtures when he comes back, and I'm pretty sure he will go straight back into that team. I think they play Forest and a leaky Spurs side upon his return. So going in on early on somebody like Tony, it could really pay off. Odegaard as well. I think we briefly mentioned him, but he didn't return in game week 16, but did in 15, got an assist there. Some people in the live chat were saying, and I've heard this as well, that when Son goes to Asia Cup, and perhaps when Salah goes as well, we'll be looking for midfielders. We'll have a lot of money, and it'd be quite good to get a midfielder that's a bit more, not just a budget pick. Odegaard would fit the bill, and Odegaard would definitely be one of the names on my list. I like the way. I think so. I like the way he's playing at the moment. Seems
his form started to pick up, hasn't it? In the past few weeks, good underlying stats, making loads of key passes. He should have scored past Villa as well. And the fixtures are good. I think the fixtures are okay in an attacking sense for Arsenal. They've got obviously Brighton's good, isn't it, this weekend? I mean, West Ham after that, a couple of weeks.
When I've been looking at Arsenal, with Havertz playing, he seems to be. Part of his role seems to just be annoying big bloke, just in the way. And that's sort of freeing up space for Odegaard to sort of cut in and get in onto goal for either an assist or a goal. And obviously,
I think he does seem to play. He does seem to offer more. I haven't got stats to back this up from an eye test perspective. Watching him play, that dynamic seems to work a little bit better, which is what Havertz was brought in for, wasn't it? He was brought in to play that Xhaka role on the left. And maybe if they can get some consistent playing time together, then it will really start to gel.
Okay. Next name up, Adingra, who I've been sort of partially wanting to sell for the last couple of weeks, just because I couldn't believe he could keep starting. So this is now 12 matches in a row, including in Europe, big European games. And every time I think, he looks a bit leggy. I wish they'd take him off and rest him for a little bit. Then, I mean, against Burnley, he was incredible, and got his goal. And because his ownership is so low, your team gets that 10 points. So when a 50% a player scores and gets 10 points, you only get 5 points into your team, really. But you get that whole 10 points, a whole 10-point boost to your ranking there, which is great. So I think we're going to mention him later. I don't know if anyone can hear my mic's picking up. The 2 dogs in our house have gone mental suddenly, so I'm hoping they're going to be quiet. Okay, so we'll mention Adingra in a bit as well, because he's in a team with Brighton. We're just rotation, putting people off. Martinelli's next. He did score in game week 15. Remind me, is he still in your team?
No, he went a couple of weeks back. Funnily enough, I sold him and Adingra for Mbomo and Palmer, I think it was. And that's so, I mean, Mbomo did score prior to leaving my team. Palmer did score as well at Old Trafford, of course. So it's probably quite similar output I've got from the both of them, the two that I sold for the two that I bought in. He lacked a bit of end product against Villa, I thought, but I think Jesus coming back and being fit will be good for him. I still think I prefer Saka and Odegaard at this moment in time, but maybe Martinelli just needs a goal and then he'll go on a run because he's got the quality, hasn't he?
Well, that's what he got in Game Week 15. The X there is for Game Week 16. Game Week 15, he did, of course, return. He hasn't. I mean, there are still better midfielders out there. Trippier's next.
It was against Luton, wasn't it, that he scored? Because in the 4-3, wasn't it?
Yes. Trippier has blanked last couple of matches. Not only blanked, he's looked awful. He looked actually... at certain moments when Son was playing against him, I wouldn't quite go as far as say career-ending, but it was similar. Now, people may laugh at this comparison. It was similar when I remember seeing an Arsenal Fulham game, I think it was, where Bobby Zamora got the better of Sol Campbell frequently, just outpaced him, outthought him, and it was pretty much the end of Sol Campbell. It was just Bobby Zamora killed Sol Campbell. And with Trippier, it's not just Son. It's the last couple of matches. He's been caught out. And then, he seems, forever Trippier, but he's well over 30 now. And perhaps it's just the games are catching up on him.
And it's the volume of games, isn't it, Joe? Because they can't rotate at the moment, Newcastle. So these players are probably getting pushed more than ideally. Livramento was brought in as a backup to Trippier to take him out of the firing line occasionally. That can't happen because he's playing at left back. You Champions League and European football, they're not used to it, and he's suspended anyway in game week 17. Trippier, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I think he's fine to hold, knowing that they've got Luton and Forest when he comes back. But I think after that, certainly people will be looking to sell him with the run after that.
Andres Pereira is next. Yes, he did get an assist in game week 16. Game week 15, he got 3 more. So he's got 4 assists. So that's an assist times 4 that should be in there. So as I said, that's just for game week 16. Game week 15, those 4 assists, those 3 other assists. So 4 assists across 2 games. Fulham have scored, was it back-to-back 5-0s?
Yeah.
They're proper good now. I mean, that's not just a one-off. They're actually like proper good, which is great for this show.
It's clicking. It's clicking, isn't it? Finally for them. And there's loads of options, isn't there? We'll talk about them in a bit, but there's probably 4 or 5 options.
Definitely. And they're all budget options, and they're all low owned, because everyone still is in the mindset, probably ourselves included, that Fulham are whipping boys. Bournemouth, they're the team they're a team to get hammered, but they're not. They're the teams that actually are doing the hammering now. So let's have a look at the latest goals in. Before I do, just to welcome those more of you joining us in the live chat, many more of you. Do remember to press that like button, and do remember to subscribe if you're not already. Keep up to date with our latest videos and podcasts. Eunice, Jamie, Ahmed, Evan, and many more. Pete, Georgie as well, all joining us in the live chat. Do leave where you're joining us from as well. I've seen a couple of Scotlands, so all good, good. It's good to get people from far places like Scotland, but other places as well across the world are more than welcome. Okay, let's have a look at goals imminent. So remind everyone, this is based on the last 4 game week stats. And if you score more than 1 goal, you're off the table in a good way. If you don't achieve those XG delta stats, as in you're underperforming, you're not performing to your XG, then you're off the table as well in a bad way. So everyone on here is underperforming, but there's quite some spectacular underperformers as well. We're going to start with Calvert-Lewin as well. Now the problem with Calvert-Lewin is it's been fitness. Is he fit? If he is fit, he's undeniably a good striker, and he fits in with the Everton system clearly. So he's had 3 starts, three big chances, missed them all, but he's had 7 shots on target out of 12 shots, and I'm sure he did score actually in the last 4 game weeks. I'm not sure why it says that, but or maybe he just almost scored. But I'll have a look. Back.
He had a lot of chances. I can remember the Man United game when they lost at home to United, but he actually was presented, which I imagine a couple of the big chances were actually from that one. I'm just going to have a quick look now.
Yeah, so I think he's
See where
he's
we're at.
basically looked good the last few
Yeah,
matches.
yeah, he hasn't actually scored since
No,
game
he got
week
an
10
assist.
at West Ham. He got an assist
He
against
got an assist.
Chelsea,
That's
didn't
it, really. Yeah, so
he?
he's definitely been involved in attacking play. So this
Mm.
shows he's top of this table here. And it just shows, I mean, the very fact that we're actually thinking, oh, he must have scored loads because he's just in those positions, really. So
Yeah.
12 shots, all but one close range, 7 of those on target. He's should have scored at least 3 goals, getting on for 3 goals over this period. So that just shows that he is, if fit, he's a really good option. But I guess it's the fixtures they're a bit mixed, I'd say. I wouldn't say they're wholly
Yeah.
bad. He's got Burnley next away, then Tottenham as well. They definitely concede. Then City in game week 19, and then you've got Wolves, Aston Villa, and Fulham. Now, obviously, teams like Fulham are improving, and so are Wolves. But at the same time, they're all okay fixtures for a striker, I think. So I don't rule out getting Calvert-Lewin at 5.8 million.
I like him. I just worry that is now the time to get him, given that we're going into a very busy period of games. Because I think Everton play Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday over Christmas. Now he isn't going to start all 3 of those, so he might get his minutes managed in the kind of the middle one of those, the midweek game. They've got Beto, haven't they, who's been coming in for him and doing okay. But yeah, if he was guaranteed to play and we thought he was going to get a run, I really like him as an option. He's one of the top, he's in that kind of Solanke bracket where really good player to own. He's going to take penalties as well, you'd think. So, yeah, there's still lots to like. It's just I might be a little bit wary that he won't start every game over Christmas.
Lerma's next. He does fit the bill of this show in the completely unfashionable pick that no one owns. And he's 4.7 million. He's had 2 big chances, missed them both. Only had a couple of shots on target, but he has had 10 shots. But he plays City next. He should have getting on for nearly 2 goals, according to this, over the last 4 game weeks. But he plays City next, and this is the problem, really. He's got the Brighton game, which is a derby. Anything can happen. Probably Palace winning 1-0, but not him. Chelsea then next, then Brentford, Arsenal, and Sheffield United. So it gets slightly better in game week 22, but next few fixtures, we're just not going to go there. So I think we can sketch over him. Darwin Núñez, we mentioned, just to remind people of his stats, which I'll cry into as an owner. 5 big chances, he's fluffed them all. He's had 10 shots, 9 inside the box, all bar 1 close range. He started 3 of the last 4, but he's only had 2 of those shots on target. But according to the XG Delta, he should have got at least 1.5 goals. So getting on for 2 goals there, which, yes, I would like to have seen. Moving down the list, just to welcome those joining us on the live show, said where they're calling from. Story Films, naturally, is from Nairobi. They're Rasta Dude, naturally, morning from sunny Barbados. Dave is watching from South Africa. Sakan from Finland. Ray Burke from a little city called London. P. Georgie is in Wild West Australia. I don't know whether that's Western Australia, but he's currently on holes in Tasmania, so the other side of Australia there. And Ramesh, Guernsey. I've been to Guernsey many times. I like it. Great beaches. Okay.
I was actually in Finland as well last week,
wow.
so that's why I went towards the back end of last week with the family for a bit of a Christmas getaway. So that's why when we were talking about the game week 50, well, last week was a real blur trying to stay on top of deadlines with a 2-hour time difference and things like that. So that's why I probably didn't spot all the assists we were missing on the table.
Right,
but that's a proper eclectic bunch of people watching this.
Did you attempt to find the elusive Finnish enigma Villaronka for those veterans that might remember him? He used to be the best FPL player around for a number of years, but then stopped playing, I believe, recently.
Yeah, I had some good tussles with him at the top of back in the days when I was in the Hall of Fame kind of top 5, but he was just so consistent every year, wasn't he? And this guy got this kind of mythical status because nobody knew much about him.
Magical.
But not playing anymore.
No.
But as far as we know.
No.
So,
Okay, moving on for the rest of this list. 5.8 million, Brennan Johnson. He's only had 1 big chance, but he has missed it. He's had 4 shots on target. 12 shots, 10 close range. Started all 4. Richarlison is back now, but Richarlison was playing through the middle. Kulusevski was playing much more centrally. Son out left, which of course where he was got this huge haul in game week 16. So Brennan Johnson playing out on the right, I presume now.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he's a versatile player, isn't he?
Okay, so that because his versatility there, because I mean that clearly worked with Son out there. Son can also play up top, I guess, but especially with Son going off to the Asia Cup, game week 21, I think that will be. Brennan Johnson, he's a definite he's a buy probably now, isn't he?
I think he is, but there's a lot of options. You mentioned them then, Joe. You've got Kulusevski, who's looked great over the last few games, who's kind of growing into this role with Maddison out of the team. But now you've got Richarlison, who I've had a bad experience with earlier on in the season. But if he's playing through the middle in that Spurs team, I don't think you can just disregard him as an option, although he is one of those Darwin, Jesus type players, which can be incredibly frustrating to own. So you might not want to go there. But Johnson, I think, is a really good option. Playing on the right in an attacking Spurs team. He's going to play until Maddison's back. I think he's going to start most games because Kulusevski will be needed in the middle. So, yeah, brilliant option, I think, Brennan Johnson.
Okay. A. Dawson joining us from Belfast, Jose from Berlin, Abby from India, Eunice also from India, Brian, USA, and Gerald from St. Vincent, Caribbean. I'll go for, Trossard. I'll read out his stats, but it's a familiar story with Trossard. Yes, he's good. Yes, he could score any time. Will he get the minutes? No. So he will start the odd match. He will get 20 minutes, 30 minutes here and there. So there are better options for 6.5 million in midfield. 3 big chances, missed them all, but he has had a couple of shots on target. Got Brighton next, his old club. Starts just 2, 6 shots inside the box and 11 shots. So yeah, he'll be hoping he gets a start against Brighton. And I'm hoping he doesn't do well.
I mean, I think he'll probably play in the Champions League, won't he?
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot riding on it. I think there was talk yesterday of Martinelli and Saka perhaps kind of sitting this one out. But again,
got he needs injury.
But for Trossard, he needs a proper injury, which is going to keep somebody out for a while. Otherwise, he's not going to get consistent minutes. So.
Okay. Almiron's next. Everyone's ignoring him because he's a bit more expensive than Gordon, who's starting. But nevertheless, Almiron, one of these players that's quietly starting every match. Shots inside the box 7, 9 shots he's had, 3 of those on target. He's creeping up this table. No goals, but he should have got at least 1. Almiron is interesting. I'm just thinking sort of just a player to keep an eye on in the future game weeks, especially when some of our players like Son and Salah go off to their respective international cups.
Yeah, he went on that run, wasn't it? It was last season, wasn't it? Where he was just unbelievable for a 10 game week period or something. Guess for Almiron, you've got Gordon there at exactly the same price. I think Gordon's 6.2 now, who, when I watch the games, looks a little bit more of a threat. And of course, I don't think we'll see Gordon through the middle anytime soon now because Wilson's back and Isak's getting fit. So, I'm not sure if I'd look at Almiron right now, but he has shown in the past that he can do it. So if he shows a bit of form, then you could hop on. It's just Gordon's doing quite well there, especially at home. Gordon hasn't blanked in a home match this year yet, and he's got 2 of the next 3 are at St James's Park. I'm a bit concerned as an owner because Newcastle are looking pretty fatigued at the moment, aren't they? I think you've got to keep him if you own him.
But you never know. I mean, as I was saying about with Adingra, if you see him and the amount of starts he's getting, and I think he looks leggy, then he suddenly whips out a goal. So
they're young players, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's not like they're in their 30s or anything. No. So they should be able to do it.
Yemi has pointed out that Almiron and Gordon are now actually the same price. So as a non-owner of me, I'm actually. I mean, if I was going to invest in Newcastle, I'm not 100% on Gordon. Maybe Almiron might get the nod.
I mean, a great differential. I don't know what his ownership's like, but I can imagine in active teams it's very, very, very low. So,
next name is Haaland. Very rare we see Haaland on the goals imminent table because he scores pretty much most weeks. So he usually gets those 2 goals within 4 game week period. So, this is a rare team. So he hasn't played the the last match because it was a surprise injury. It's since transpired that in the league that his family are in, his dad Alfie and sister, I think, and various other people, they all sneakily transferred him out, actually. So they knew that he was going to be injured. And I'm not sure the extent of the injury. I mean, it doesn't seem serious, but it could be just a sort of a let's give him a rest injury because he's got the World Club competition coming up and lots of fixtures over Christmas. So do you think, what's your instinct now? This is currently Tuesday for those watching back later. What's your instinct that he's actually going to play against Palace? Because I don't think he does, but also because his ownership's so high, I don't particularly care because how he does is immaterial, really.
Yeah, well, we've got a presser from Pep coming up. I think it'll be this evening for the Champions League. We'll get another one pre-Palace as well. I don't think it looks particularly good for him playing this weekend. The fact that his dad and other family members have transferred him out. If he was just going to miss the one match, I think you'd probably be more inclined to keep him, like all of us who didn't know about it did do. But that doesn't sound good. And then they've got the Club World Cup coming up, obviously, and they want him playing in that. So, this is Tuesday, but at the time, this time, I'd probably say he's a real doubt for the weekend. He didn't. I just saw on the BBC just then that he wasn't in the open training session for the Champions League either, so he's not training at the moment. So now we're with this big dilemma of what to do with Haaland, given that he blanks in game week 18 too.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something that on the pages of Fantasy Football Scout you've been toiling over, and there's lots of advice there. But there's lots of different routes you can go down. You could get rid of him, spread the money. You can get rid of him, but just keep the money in the bank. Or you can just bench him. And I'm minded to do the latter because the next two moves I want to do, I don't need the Haaland money because there's so much value in Solanke as a player I've got my eye on, very cheap. And then I probably want Haaland back in game week 19. So,
if you can upgrade your 8th attacker, and you've got the funds or the transfers to do that, and keep Haaland on the bench for a couple of weeks, I think that you can do that because it saves transfers further down the line, doesn't it? And you get to have Salah and Haaland from game week 19, both of them in your team, which is what everybody wants. But I do think that for some teams, selling Haaland, if we hear that he's definitely out, might make sense. And then maybe switching him in. I think it's game week 20, the week before Salah goes away for AFCON.
If you're going into this week with 2 transfers, you don't need to take a hit as well because you can just perhaps use 1 transfer, and then you can use those 2 transfers to get Haaland back in. Those who have, of course, got the wild card in the bag. This has also fallen nicely for them, I think. Because they can get rid of Haaland. They can just get rid of Haaland now and then wildcard him back in by the time he's back. So that's handy. But for those like us that don't have those chips available, I think for me, if I needed the money, I would use it. And as you said, getting sort of a third striker or an 8th attacker to cover him. But if you're okay with it, so for example, for me, my cheap midfielders are Palmer and Almiron. No, not Almiron, and Adingra.
Yeah.
So I've got players I'm okay with for subbing. I've got players I'm okay playing. And it's only really Archer, I think, that can be upgraded. But if you've got, like, I don't know, that guy from West Ham, I can't remember his name now, the 4.3 striker.
Mbama. Yeah, he's in my team.
Something like that. Yeah. That's you're probably going to need a bit of an upgrade there. And same if you've got a midfielder who's just injured or just not playing. But fingers crossed.
Yeah. So I think if you sell Haaland this week and you decide to do that, you're going to make with 2 free transfers, you're probably going to take Salah out in game week 20, which is he plays Newcastle at home. He then goes to AFCON. Now, I think you do it in game week 20 because Man City play Sheffield United at home that week. You have to have Haaland for that, providing he's fit.
But Salah will play that week, won't he, in game week 20?
Yeah, he'll play Newcastle. So you're look, that is not ideal taking him out. But for the people who sell him, they will be thinking, I'm going to take him out in that fixture, the Newcastle one. So you're essentially, if you take Haaland out this week, you're not going to have Haaland in game week 19, which was when he's away at Everton, and then you're not going to have Salah at home to Newcastle. That's essentially what you're missing out on.
You've just described my waking nightmares. So you're just basically saying these are the two best players in the game. They'll probably be fit.
Yeah,
and you can't have both. But I've been happily having both all this time, so that cements me just benching Haaland.
I mean, it's a risk which some managers will take, other managers won't want to. So it'll be intriguing to see how it happens and see what happens. But we've been in this position before many times with Haaland, where you think, oh, can I go without him for one or two fixtures? And we saw what happened early around about, I can't remember, what was it, game week 10 or something like that, when he just went on this kind of run and he was getting up haul after haul. So that's the risk you take if you do it.
Definitely. We'll talk about that, what our plans are, what we're going to do with Haaland in our team reveal video. So do have a look at that this week on Fantasy Football Scouts channel. A reminder to subscribe so you don't miss out on all those videos like that and the podcasts that we do. Also, do press that like button as well. Luis is next at Villa. Is he suspended for the next game?
Yeah, he is. I mean, there was 10 players. 10 players who got suspended at the weekend, and he was one of them. So.
Just worth noting that he's got 10 shots, 3 inside the target. So long range shots, just a couple on target. So that's what you're getting with him. Spectacular goals. And Jesus is next as well with Arsenal. Sort of a bit of a forgotten man because everyone wants Saka, and then there's lots of other players here. Jesus very quietly has been doing okay here. 10 shots he's had, all of them inside the box. That's great. He started all 4. He's got Brighton next, who haven't kept a clean sheet. 7 of his shots, so 7 of his 10 shots have been on target. He's had 3 big chances. He has scored, and he's missed a couple. Yeah, I mean, we were saying, like, if people are going to get rid of Haaland and they're going to spread the money, or they're looking for an alternative to Haaland, so perhaps they've already got Watkins or Solanke. So if they've got Watkins, Solanke and Haaland, well, I don't know, Jesus would be pretty good, really. You've got Brighton up next, then Liverpool, then West Ham, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest. These are good fixtures. And he's starting, and he's really... I mean, these are really good stats here. 10 shots, every single one from close range. Yeah. Almost all of them on target. Absolutely clinical. He's the reverse Darwin Núñez.
Well, he's a player which has been tagged as a bit of Darwin-like in the past, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But his stats always look. I can remember running a piece on him last year, and it was very similar. Like he'd had something like 30 shots and 29 had been inside the box from good areas. But I think I was trying to add it up when you were talking it through then, Joe. And I think that, yes, Solanke, presuming Haaland's out, Solanke, Watkins, Alvarez potentially for game week 17 if he's going to lead the line at Palace. But people might not want to just bring him in knowing that he's blanking in 18. After that, I think you probably got Jesus, haven't you, as the forward to own. So.
And also, now, this might be tempting fate, but Palace often get the better of City when you least expect it.
Yeah, they've done well in the past.
So I'm okay. I'm sanguine to go without City.
I will say that they've got a lot of injury problems at the moment, Palace. Yeah. They've got a lot out, and that may affect them. Yeah. But I don't think many people are going to bring Alvarez in this week, knowing he blanks in 18. No. The rotation which we might have around those, especially people with players like... if you've got non-playing players like Charlie Taylor, for me, for instance, is suspended this week, and I've got Mobama, and it just makes it difficult. But so I think Jesus, I don't mind it. He's been frustrating whenever I've owned him in the past, but I suppose you've got to forget about that and just treat him as a new player now. And
great stats.
So why not for that run? They're going to score up against Brighton.
Not many content creators will be talking about him, so we can get some kudos when he scores against Brighton. Even though it'll be sad for me as a Brighton fan. Porro is next. A player I was going to get rid of many weeks ago, but it stayed because of Maddison's injury, because Spurs fans were saying, oh, Porro will be on set pieces. And boy, is he. And oh my God. Do you know what? He is one of the most... He's maybe my favourite FPL player at the moment.
Yeah.
And he's certainly, in the 14 years I've been playing, one of the most fun to own. And his low ownership delights me every week. He looks to score all the time.
Yeah.
He's on all the set pieces. He's looking to assist. And now he's got like Romero's back in defence, a slight chance of a clean sheet, and he almost got a clean sheet against Newcastle at the weekend.
Did.
And that was almost a huge haul with bonus as well. He is a really popular target to bring in. You have Reece James, so I'm sure we'll talk about our team reveal video, but Porro has to be your top choice to replace James, surely.
Yeah, I mean, as a non-owner, watching Porro these past few games is absolutely terrifying because he's like popping up in like number 10 position, kind of. He's shooting, he's dribbling around, he's on set pieces, and you're like literally sat in your seat, and you don't want him to return, but it's just he's getting in such. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah. So it's it really is incredible, and Udogie as well coming in from the other side. But I think Porro is the player that you want there. He just looks great. He's settling into this system really well. I don't think Spurs are going to keep clean sheets in the next 4. They've got Forest, Everton, Brighton and Bournemouth, who I think are some decent attacking teams in there. But he's got 4 assists in 5, and I think he's going to, and if they do get a clean sheet in one of those games, I don't personally see it, but if they do, you're talking double digits probably for Porro.
Definitely.
So brilliant option, and probably the top defender to own, I would say now.
A reminder of his fixtures coming up: Nottingham Forest next, then Everton, Brighton, who haven't kept a clean sheet, Bournemouth, Manchester United, and Brentford. So it gets a bit mixed towards the end, but pretty good fixtures there. Porro, hasten to add, he is a defender. It's rare for defenders to be on the goals imminent table. So when we
had Trent on it 3 weeks ago or so, didn't we? And then since he's gone off it, and so exactly. It really, I did an XGI table of the top 20 XGI player performers in the last 6 matches for a piece for Scout, and Porro was in about 19th or 20th. So as soon as you see a defender on this table or that one, take note of it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to the assist imminent table. So I'm aware we've got a couple of unfashionable picks tables to put up as well. So, and we'll try and get some live Q&A chat at the end as well. So assist imminent, Gameweek 17. We'll try and be as quick as can, because some of these players we will mention a bit towards the end. Silva at City, 9 chances created, just a goal, a couple of successful crosses. Got Crystal Palace up next. Blanks in Gameweek 18. Then he's got Everton, Sheffield United. Him and Rodri are looking perhaps less Rodri from an FPL point of view, looking like they're Man City's best players at the moment. But Silva, he does get returns, and no one ever owns him. So he's top of this table. That says to me that he's becoming much more creative and involved.
Yeah, well, he needs to with De Bruyne out, doesn't he? And I think the appeal with Bernardo is minutes. Again, there is those players, and at Liverpool, Szoboszlai, somebody like that, who might not be as explosive or Bernardo as Foden or Doku or something like that. But what you will get is the minutes. So, and there's appeal in that, especially over this period, which is coming up. But I don't think anybody's going to be looking at him right now because of that blank. And then maybe revisit it after the World Cup and see where we're at.
Well, definitely, because as I keep saying, Salah, Son, they're off to play their international cup competitions. There's going to be spaces in midfield. People are going to be looking for midfielders, and I think Silva. When I look in some of my mini leagues and people get Silva in, I never do. And they always get his points, and they always overtake me. So maybe this season after Christmas, I do get Silva in. As a New Year treat. At least
it'll be it'll be interesting to see about De Bruyne as well. There's talk of him coming back in the new year.
Definitely
could be great.
Definitely, and a really handy Salah replacement to keep that funds in that place. Elise 5.8 million, and we've said the Palace fixtures, starting with City, it includes Arsenal and Chelsea and Brighton as well. They're not the easiest fixtures, so Elise is not going to be thought of. But just to say, he's had 11 successful crosses last 4 game weeks, 10 chances created, 13 corners. These are really good stats. So if Crystal Palace ever do gel and do get the better of this fixture run, Elise will be the man to do it. But the next player I wanted to mention is McGinn. This is what I've highlighted from you being a Villa fan. McGinn, he's not in anyone's teams, but he says he's got 1 goal over the last 4 game weeks. But every time I see the Villa play, he looks like their most I guess apart from Watkins, but McGinn looks like he can make trouble and goals and assists at any moment. He looks great.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, are you tempted?
Well, he's undroppable in the team. McGinn's one of the few. There's a handful of players at Villa are kind of like the
Yeah.
undroppables. Watkins being one of them as well, and then players like Douglas Luiz. So he's got that. He gets a bit more freedom to attack because we play Kamara and Dougie Luiz in the middle. He's one of those kind of inside, kind of like wide midfielders. So he gets into some good positions. He's 5.5 million. He's also on 4 yellow cards.
Yeah.
So one more yellow card and he will sit out a game, which you should probably be aware of. At the moment, Diaby and Bailey, I don't think either of them are great options because I think they're going to share minutes a bit. So then you've got Douglas Luiz and you've got McGinn. They're probably competing against each other. I think I'd probably take Douglas Luiz just because of penalties and set pieces. I think I would. Because I think they're probably... McGinn's going to get up for a little bit more threat from open play because he gets a bit more advanced. But I do think the penalties is important. I think the set piece is important. So I'd still favour Douglas Luiz slightly, I think.
Okay, but he is high up on this table. So,
yes.
But yes.
He will. I mean, we're scoring so many goals. He will get assists.
Janel at Brentford, 8 chances created. We have briefly sketched over him. I don't think people go there until sort of they get a bit more firepower and Bomo back, Tony, that type of thing. Dingra, we've mentioned, just to say his stats. I mean, 12 chances created, couple of corners. He has scored. He's had 3 successful crosses. Got Arsenal next. I mean, I'd be surprised if he. I'll be surprised if he both plays and is dropped against Marseille for Brighton. They need to win this game, really, because they need to top the group. And by doing that, so victory, they will top the group. And that means they don't have to play one of those Champions League sides that's dropping down. So it saves them a game. And boy, could Brighton be saved some games at the moment with the amount of injuries they've got. And it saves them a tough game as well, because those Champions League sides will be good. But at the same time, can he play the 13th game in a row? If he plays that, I can't see him starting against Arsenal.
I bet he will.
But
he's a machine.
But I say that every week. I mean, he cannot start both of those 2 games. Maybe. But we'll speak about him in a bit. Odegaard we've mentioned as well, just to reiterate, he's had 13 chances created, so he's very creative at the moment. Trippier we've mentioned, 19 corners, 12 chances created, no goals, just that 1 assist, 9 successful crosses. Great stats, but he has been somewhat schooled by the likes of Son recently. Goodmanson at Burnley, we can sketch over because I'm not going to mention him. Fernandes we're going to sketch over as well. Because he's suspended for this next match, and it's against Liverpool as well. 15 chances created, 16 corners, 4 successful crosses. He has good stats. He has got good stats, but Manchester United are very iffy at the moment. And Joe Ellington, I'm going to just briefly mention, really, 5.8 million. I think people go for Gordon, Almiron, Isaac, Wilson even. They're just going to go for those types of players. But nevertheless, Joe Ellington has got a couple of goals. So brought in as a striker, now an amazing midfielder, but he's still got an eye for goal, 7 chances created. So in the assist imminent table there, so could be getting some assist stats too. Okay, I'm aware that time is marching on and some of our people might leave us because they've got to go back to work at 2. But we're going to carry on past that time. So if you want to skip a bit of work, do stay with us or do watch back a bit later. So this is a section, call it what you will. Most unfashionable players, best unfashionable players, best forgotten players. These are the players from, the teams themselves have been forgotten by FPL managers. And the players have also therefore been forgotten as well. But they're quietly racking up the points and their ownership is very low, with only really Solanke attracting the attention of managers. Even then, his stats are low. We're going to start with Brighton first. We're doing sort of alphabetical. Pascal Gross. He is like Villa's John McGinn. But Pascal is a little bit more versatile. He can pop up anywhere. He can play in almost any position. He's almost undroppable. He might get the odd rest. He's over 30 now. But, if he's fit, he'll play. He's had 4 assists and a goal, 28 FPL points in the last 4 game weeks, 3 starts. His XGI delta is that he's been overperforming a lot of those, but he's created 15 chances. He plays in different positions, and every one he plays in, he seems to work well with whoever he plays with. But this is it. Ownership, 3.1%. I mean, I mentioned Adingra as well. We mentioned about the Barnick man. He's had 15 FPL points, less, but he costs less. 4-star Huts incredibly. He's been underperforming. He's created 12 chances. And his expected goal involvement delta is he should have got at least been involved in at least a goal or assist more. And he's only 1.3% owned. People are ignoring them, but I picked out these two. These are the standouts. I think if I'd be tempted because Brighton's fixtures really turn in. I mean, this is not me. It's just as a fan here. I'm just saying, just as an FPL assets. They got Crystal Palace next. Crystal Palace after Arsenal in Game Week 18. They're Tottenham, West Ham, Wolves, and Luton. This is a really good run. I mean, they're going to creep up. They're currently third in the season tick of the next 6. They're going to be like creeping up to second or maybe even top after a little while. So yeah, you tempted?
Yeah, Brighton are a team because I think that once Europe finishes until February, I think that's going to help them because I think there's going to be the less travel. There's going to be not the Thursday nights arriving back in the early hours of Friday morning. So yeah, they are a team I'm looking at. I think I'd be tempted to get on board. Yeah, so if you were going to get a Brighton player in, would you miss the Palace game and go for the Tottenham one, or do you think you could get them in for that Palace one?
Because it's a derby, you don't know.
Yeah, so Game Week 18.
It is worth pointing out with Adingra, he is playing in AFCON as well. So he'll be gone for probably Game Week 21. But so for the next 3 or 4 fixtures, he's good to go. And he can be transferred to, I don't know, Parma, whoever. There's a whole bunch of players emerging in that price range. And everyone's going to be washed with money anyway. So it'll come at a fortuitous time. You can upgrade him. So I think he's worth getting. I think if you're making that move now, go for Dingra. If you're just looking for long term, just go Pascal Gross. He was the top.
Because sorry, Joe. Because Matoma's too risky for minutes right now. Yeah.
Matoma, I think currently is. I do think on the eye test, Matoma's the best player. Gross was the highest scoring FPL player for Brighton last season, and goes unnoticed because he does a lot of the work that goes unnoticed. But 28 FPL points last 4 game weeks, 6.4 million, pretty good.
And the fixtures are good. The fixtures are good. I've just opened up the ticker to go a bit further down, up to 24, and they've got it's a really, really nice run. They play Tottenham twice, who've been a bit leaky, and Wolves, Luton, West Ham.
I mean, I'm looking at retaining some Brighton, but a lot of people will be ignoring them because of the rotation worries. But I think with these two, apart from obviously AFCON, but going up to about Game Week 20, 21, then he's off for AFCON Abdingra, and then he comes back again. These two are the guys that just are undroppable at the moment. But Bournemouth next. Solanke, he's probably the player I'm probably going to get him. Next, I've been talking about it for some time. I wish I'd gone for him instead of Darwin. But nevertheless, we are where we are. 6.6 million. He's scored a couple of goals, no assists, but he's 6.6% ownership. So people are starting to notice him. He should have got at least 1 goal involvement more. His expected goal involvement is actually over 3 for the last 4 game weeks, and he's created a chance. So he's just the goal man, and that's what you want. So he's a reliable striker. He's had 17 FPL points, not bad for 6.6 million over the last 4 game weeks. I like him. And Tavernier is the guy that people don't even know who he is. It's 5.4 million. He's had 28 FPL points, same as Pascal Gross. His ownership is 0.6%, 0.6%, so it's negligible. He's had 2 assists, created 9 chances. And Bournemouth's run's really good. They've got Luton, Forest, Fulham, then Tottenham and Liverpool, and then they got West Ham. So it's quite a nice run.
Nice.
And as Brian's pointed out in the live chat, but just go back to Brighton. Matoma is also gone for the Asia Cup, so I should have mentioned that. I just thought that was because I'm so used to him playing for Japan. I just assumed everyone would know that. But yes, so Tavernier is another great option here, I think, for the assists here. But yeah, Bournemouth. I think we need a bit of Bournemouth, don't we?
Well, they're flying at the moment, aren't they? And Solanke's numbers are even more impressive because they haven't had a penalty this year, Bournemouth. So those XGI numbers and things like that. If they get a couple of penalties, which surely they're going to get one over Christmas sooner or later, he's going to benefit from that. Tavernier is more the creator there. Might be prone to a occasional rotation because they've got so many wide players there and they're all good. But Solanke, I mean, I think he's the most bought player or the most bought forward certainly this week, and easy to see why as well. I think with Haaland being out, potentially he's going to be the go-to guy. I think if you already own Watkins, if you don't own Watkins, I think people will move to him maybe.
Definitely. Moving down to Everton. These players selected from there. A lot of these players we have mentioned frequently this season already. McNeil we've mentioned, Decore as well. Their fixtures are mixed, but they've been doing well. But they got Burnley up next, then Tottenham, and then City, and then Wolves, Villa, and Fulham. So it's quite mixed. Calvert-Lewin, we've mentioned him already. His ownership is only 1.1%. But he's underperforming by over three goals involvements, and that's mainly on goals rather than assists. McNeil's fulfilling the promise that we've had him on the assist imminent table for a lot, but it's the goal scoring as well. He's had 2 goals, 27 FPL points last 4 game weeks. Started every match, 0.3% owned. Everyone's ignoring him. Forgotten man. And he's got an assist as well, so that's 3 returns. He's only 5.4 million. Harrison as well is another one, 5.5 million. He's started all 4. He's got 11 FPL points, not as many as McNeil there. But he's been underperforming by at least a goal involvement, and he's created 6 chances. Decore is the guy that no one's ever going to get him because everyone thinks he's going to maintain his scoring rates. But nevertheless, he keeps doing it. 23 FPL points, 2 goals. He started every match, only 1.5% owned, no assists, marginally been overperforming. And that's what people look at there. They just think he can't maintain it, but yet somehow he often does. Everton, are you tempted?
I'm not, just because of the fixtures. I think it's Burnley, Spurs, Man City, Wolves, Villa. So I think that's a pretty tricky run. I think they're doing very, very well under Dyche though, aren't they? They're starting to get consistent performances. I think if I was going to go for one, it would be Calvert-Lewin. Decore is another player on 4 yellow cards, just to be aware if you're thinking of bringing him in. He might sit out one match. But they've used that deduction to really fire them up, haven't they? And there will come a time, because Pickford's keeping clean sheets now, the defence is doing well, and there will come a time, I think, when the fixtures ease, I'll be considering a few of these players.
Definitely. I've got one more table of unfashionable players, and these are 2 more teams. Fulham. Everyone thinks they're the team to target, to beat, but they're not. They're the team that are doing the beating now. Iwobi, 31 FPL points. No one owns him. 0.6%. Though 0.6%. They've got the automatic team when they first join the game, or they're absolute legends. Because he scored 3 goals and an assist at 5.3 million, marginally overperforming his expected goal involvement delta. And he's created 4 chances. Jimenez, 1.9%. Legends. You all are. 26 FPL points, 3 goals, 4 starts. He's starting every match. Marginally overperforming, and he's created a couple of chances. Willian, who I think might be injured now, but he's nevertheless scored 3 goals and an assist. 1% ownership. And Pereira, legends again, 0.9%. Absolute stars who own him. 25 FPL points. People aren't getting him, I think, because he was 4.5 million last season. People are thinking, I'm not paying 8.8 million more. Well, if you did, you'd be getting one of the best midfielders from the last 4 game weeks. Now, Fulham, their fixtures are Newcastle, Burnley, Bournemouth, Arsenal, Chelsea, Everton. It's mixed, but there's some good ones in there. Are you tempted?
I think if there was going to be one there, it'd probably be Jimenez. I think he would be, just because the forward spot is a bit more open in my own team at the moment. It's very hard to accommodate the midfielders. I really like Willian. We put him in the scout picks a couple of weeks ago, and he did okay for us. I think he got an assist. But he is carrying that hamstring injury, and we haven't had an update on that yet. So if you are interested, at least wait for the presser. But it's all starting to click for Fulham. They've scored 16 goals in the last 4 games, back-to-back 5-0 wins. Pereira's doing well. They've got Harry Wilson, who's making a bit of an impact as well and getting attacking returns. So there's loads of cheap options all around that same price. It feels like the Burnley match is the key one in that room. Because Newcastle and Bournemouth away from home will probably be tricky, and then they've got Arsenal at home. So there's a lot riding on that. But then if you buy Jimenez, he's 5.2 million. It's not the end of the world. It might be worth the risk.
Game week 18 is when they play Burnley. So that's when we without our Brentford and City assets, if we have any. So quite handy there. I mean, I'm very tempted. I'm probably myself going to be targeting Solanke and Watkins as my next 2. But if I already own Watkins and I was looking for another striker, I think Jimenez would be up there. It's also worth noting that I don't think he wore his protective headband at the weekend, which I hadn't noticed. I don't think he did, and he scored a header. And I say that because he had a really nasty head injury. And ever since then, he has, at Wolves and Fulham, he's struggled to score, but he's now doing that. So it might be that either psychologically or physically, something has changed basically with his head and just with his own sense of well-being on the pitch. I don't know, but that could be... Could be something into it.
I didn't see that, so I'll have a look into that.
But certainly him scoring a header in itself is an amazing thing, considering what happened to him with his head injury.
No, he's not. I'm just watching. I just put the highlights on quickly there because I hadn't spotted that. So that's a good point. So I mean, they took a bit of a risk bringing him in, didn't they? Because he hadn't been doing well for Wolves, but Marco Silva clearly believed in him. He was rotating with Carlos Vinicius for a long time, but Jimenez is the better striker, and they're obviously getting him up to speed now. So I think quite a few managers will go for Jimenez this week.
And I think so. And I've added in Wolves as well, another team. Now we have been talking about Wolves all season. Pedro Neto was the one that we kept mentioning. He's obviously injured, but Kuna has stepped up 26 FPL points, started for 3 goals and an assist. These are great returns, 5.7 million. Another striker worth targeting. Hwang, who is on. Now, Hwang has got a multitude of issues that people need to be aware of, despite being amazing. So he is very popular in comparison to the others, 12% of teams, but he is on 4 yellows. He is also off to the Asia Cup as well. But it is worth mentioning he's got 20 FPL points. I think he's the sort of, if you're an owner, you can just have nice, happy confirmation bias here. But I think I wouldn't go for Hwang at the moment because of those, the chance of missing one of the next few games he's got before he goes off to Asia anyway. So, Kuna could be the one. I've got him in Sky and just for 1 week really, and he's not going to move for a while.
He's doing the business. He's consistent. He's a player that's been on our goals imminent table before prior to this run, and I don't mind Cunha given the price.
Okay, Paul H has pointed out that Jimenez was wearing the headband. He took it off when he scored. It was in his hand. That's why I thought he wasn't wearing it when he scored.
That's why, I had read that somewhere. So then I was just looking at the highlights, and the highlights, it looked like he didn't have one on, but then I'm sure I read somewhere that he did have it on. So, okay.
So, nevertheless, the point remains is that he scored a headed goal with that, which is, and he's just scoring a lot of goals at the moment, which says something has definitely changed with Jimenez. Okay. For those in the live chat, just before we go, we've got a few more minutes to try and answer any questions. So if you've got any questions for us, do put a question in the live chat, and we'll try and address that. Just put a question mark on it as well, so I can easily see that. So I'll go through, see any questions that we've got here. Vignesh, Mark Gahey to Porro, and Haaland to Solanke, he's saying. For a -4. If you can, I'm assuming you can't afford to do Mark Gahey to Porro. So anyone with a Palace defender, I've got Anderson in my team, for example, and you don't have Porro, and you can afford to do that move, do it. With Haaland, see, I think that's quite a good example of using Haaland's cash well, maybe, because Porro is a massive upgrade on Gahey, and if Haaland's not playing for 2 games, Solanke in, but I'd just be making sure you get a plan to get Haaland back, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's key, isn't it? It's a combination of moves I've looked at with selling Gahey. I own him too, upgrade into Porro, and then Haaland to Solanke as well. Yeah, just be aware that you're probably going to be without Haaland if you do sell him this week. You're probably not going to get him back. And you might. Yeah, you just want to go through the plan and work out what, because you've obviously got Salah who's going to be an issue, and Son quite soon. So you've just got to be careful and kind of just plot out your transfers and how it's going to work, because there could suddenly become a few issues in your team, and we've only got a certain amount of transfers to use. So just make some plan. I'm not totally against selling Haaland this week if he's out, but just make sure you got a plan.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's the key. If you're getting rid of Haaland, have a plan. If you don't have a plan, don't get rid of him. So if you're a bit like me and you don't like to overthink these things, I can't be bothered to find a plan. So I'm just going to
keep him. Yeah.
Let's have a look. Lennox says he's had Solanke for weeks now, which has been great. Should I be annoyed? Everyone is now moving to him. Yes. And that's a simple answer to that.
Yeah, but you've got the points.
You've got the points. Yeah, don't be too annoyed.
It is a bit frustrating when you do have that differential under the radar. He's doing the business though, and everybody flocks to him.
Yeah. And it seems like we all ruin them for them as well, don't they?
Yeah, but if that's the case, then you're probably a few points. Well, certainly quite a few points up on the people who've got happy. Darwin, for instance. So yeah, be happy about that. So,
it's a question for you, Tom. Would you consider a Villa defender, for example, Pau Torres or Konsa, given their fixtures? Which after they played Brentford, they got Sheffield United, Manchester United, Burnley, Everton, Newcastle. Which Villa defender to get? I mean, I'm tempted, but which Villa defender is best to get in?
I'd go for Pau Torres. I think there's too much uncertainty with Cash, with Luca Dean, with Alex Moreno, with the fullbacks. And I think Pau Torres, because he receives the ball, he's good at passing out from the back, he gets a lot of touches. I think that he's going to have he is a bit more expensive than Konsa now. So if you can't afford the 4.7, then it's fine to go Konsa. But I think out of the two, I'd prefer Torres. I think he'll do a bit better for bonus.
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly want myself to make a defender transfer at the moment, but I do have Anderson sitting on my bench, and he's an easy move. And I'm looking around for players that might get me a clean sheet, and I think Villa at home is a good clean sheet.
I wouldn't go Diego Carlos because I think he could sit the odd game out, but I think Torres. If you can't get Torres, Konsa, that's what I'd do.
Yemi asks, what is the best front three with and without Haaland? Okay. So that's basically best front two if you've got Haaland, best front three.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Who are yours?
So if Haaland is fit for the weekend and you wanted a front three, it would be pretty easy, I think. Solanke and Watkins.
Yeah.
I think they would be that. If you drop Haaland out for this weekend, I'd probably want Alvarez because I think he will lead the line in Haaland's absence. If you're not going to go for Alvarez because of that blank in game week 18 and you don't like that, it might be Jimenez. It could be Jimenez or Jesus, maybe.
Yeah.
That's probably where I'd be looking, I think.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I would echo that as well. I think Solanke, Watkins in a front two whilst Haaland's out. But if you wanted to replace Haaland, I would go for any of those strikers that we've just mentioned. We are going to be doing a bit of a focus in our team reveal video on strikers as well. So we'll answer that in a bit more detail. But we've mentioned some of those names already, like Jesus. A guy who's written his name in Arabic, and thanks to Britain's terrible schooling system, I can't speak Arabic. So, but they ask, do you think Solanke in for Darwin for a -4 is worth it? I don't think so at all, because Darwin plays Manchester United next, and you never know. And I think for a -4 you might regret that. But I do think Solanke in at some point, maybe soon.
I don't like the hit aspect of that move.
No, I don't.
Especially when Liverpool are at home.
Yeah.
against a Man United team who are going to be without Bruno Fernandes, who aren't playing well anyway. I wouldn't take the hit, no.
Vagelis asked Matoma to Gordon and then Gahey to Colwell for a -4. Once again, neither myself or Tom like -4s, especially for when they're essentially quite boring players like Colwell. If I would take -4, it'd be like a real high upside, like, I've got to get Haaland back in and captain him and that kind of thing. And -4.
Yeah, I think Colwell does play given the injuries at Chelsea.
Yeah.
But I don't trust Chelsea, even at home against Sheffield United, enough to take hits for them.
No. Gahey to Colwell, yes. Matoma to Gordon, I would say no. You wait until Europe. Brighton play Europe. Newcastle play in Europe as well. So let's see what the team sheets are for there. If Matoma plays in Europe, maybe. But I think he'll play against Palace. Just looking through, because I think we've answered a lot of these sorts of ones already. I'm looking. We'll just. Okay. Well, let's just ask for goalkeepers. Really, the last question. Really, look for goalkeepers. Belfast Brunch asks. He's got Areola and Johnston. Who should I sell and who for? So essentially, this question is the best goalkeeper to get at the moment. That's really tough. Now, I look through. Some people have had no clean sheets this season. The best goalkeeper I have owned this season is, drum roll, Onana. I got rid of him on my Game Week 8 wildcard, but he was the only one who got me to any returns. Areola, absolutely hopeless. And I've got Dubravka in, but apparently Dubravka's got a shoulder, some kind of injury as well.
Yeah, and he was awful as well against Spurs.
Yeah.
I thought he was really poor. Yeah. So I think if you own Dubravka, I think he'll be okay up until January.
Yeah,
I think they might look to recruit, mightn't they?
Yeah.
There's not goalkeepers is a tough position at the moment. Because I had been looking at David Raya and Robert Sanchez. David Raya hasn't exactly covered himself in glory recently. Robert Sanchez has now got this injury, which we need an upgrade on. Dubravka's minutes long-term are a bit of a concern.
Yeah.
Emi Martinez.
Yeah.
We're talking about Villa defenders. He's 4.9, I think.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's it's the unfashionable picks who are actually good and just go. So if you've got the money, obviously go for Alisson because he's the best goalkeeper who'll get saves. And Liverpool, even though they've got sort of mixed fixtures, with Arsenal and Newcastle within the next 6, Alisson is still great. So if you've got that money, just get the best. Just don't mess around. But you're right, Martinez under 5 million or around the 5 million mark. And if you want to spend even less, I think go for Pickford. He's got the most clean sheets. He's the best goal. He is the best goalie in FPL this season so far. So we have to rethink what we think about a lot of these players. We have to have a total turnaround.
Well, it's a position which we haven't given a great deal of thought to this year because you've had your real cheap. Areola was just the go-to guy because of his price. I mean, I think I got 1 clean sheet from him against Sheffield United, but apart from that, it's been absolutely rubbish. And now we've gone cheap to Dubravka. Turner had his moment, didn't he, as well? But I started with Onana too, and he got the clean sheet against Wolves. Then it was a bit frustrating. But actually, if I would have just kept the faith with Onana, I probably didn't. I really don't want to plug into that time machine that program because I had him in my first team. I had Odegaard as well, and I'm worried I'm going to look at that and I'm going to be down. But Onana would have done okay.
And also, I go back to a comment I made back when I did a team reveal video in the summer. And I thought the best goalkeeping pair was Leno and Areola. Areola's obviously let me down there, but nevertheless, their fixtures do dovetail so quite nicely, or did then for a long period.
And Leno started to keep clean sheets.
And Leno's keeping clean sheets now, so Leno is another option there. I think we're going to have to spend more. I think we're going to all have to accept that the days of thinking we're going to get something out of these 3.9, 4.2 million. Goalkeepers is gone, and we got to go up to a Pickford or a Leno or Martinez. I'd really like your Martinez shout actually.
Yeah, I was just talking about the Villa guys, and you're getting again, a great goalkeeper. You know, he's shown his worth against City and Arsenal. But because we'd been quite frustrating for clean sheets prior to that, but we just shut out City, which was fully deserved. I think Arsenal, we rode our luck at times, but we're obviously improving. Emre had said he wanted us to become tighter, and it's obviously a focus of the training sessions and the way that we're playing now. Maybe we were going to lose a little bit of that cutting edge up front, but we're going to become a bit more solid. That might be something that we're seeing now.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, good to mention goalkeepers. So thanks so much for everyone joining us in the live chat. Sorry we didn't answer all of those questions. We've got as many as we could done. Hopefully these forgotten players won't be forgotten much longer as well. We've got some tough decisions to make for our own teams this week, which me and Tom will discuss on our team reveal video, so watch out for that. Lots more content coming up with Fantasy Football Scout. Do remember to subscribe if you're not already, and do remember to press that like button. That really helps us out. And do have a look at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. Have a look on there. Have a look at the membership offer there, 7-day free trial, and there's 20% off as well. So do have a look at that. You can make your own goals imminent tables, or call it something else. Make your own table of whatever you want. Obviously, as long as it's FPL related. Thanks so much for your time. Take care, and we'll see you again next week.
Cheers, Joe.